we're at the point now. It's like if we're starting a show, like what's our point of difference?
Yeah,
like
and
the betting show, the green screen. We literally copied that off sports advisors from Barstool Sports, and I hadn't seen anyone in Australia do it. It's short, it's sharp, it's punchy. There's a bit of competition in it, so that's kind of like our point of difference. We didn't want to be diving deep into analysis, and there's probably that side of it that we could sort of grow into, but we just want to see if it had legs first. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Ice Project. This is going to be an episode of Inside YKTR. Going to get my right-hand man, Lukey, back on camera. Sort of sits behind the camera a lot, probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. Obviously, well-respected within here at YKTR. So you obviously see the execution of all his editing and hard work, and just want to get him on. And there's a very smart brain behind this guy as well. So probably doesn't get the credit he deserves, but happy to have you on, my guy.
Grateful. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Obviously, me and Lukey sort of vibe in a certain way, and sometimes it kind of sort of feels like me and Lukey versus the world and YKTR, and that includes staff as well. But how are you? Obviously, you've moved in from California, moved in a little bit closer to the city. What's that transition been like?
I have. It's been good. It's I'm still not quite used to the mornings yet, like literally getting out of bed and being here so quickly. I do need to have a better morning routine, but I think I'm in this like weird vortex of weddings and everything like that that's taking me away from it. I know I could be more disciplined with it, but I'm just sort of riding with it until the end of this period, and then I can focus.
When's the end of this period?
Last wedding is next Saturday, so then I'm done. No one, if you're watching and you're friends with me, no proposals, nothing. I'm sick of it.
So if someone proposes, going, yep, congrats, and then...
See ya, man. Hope for another worldwide pandemic and get pushed back 2 years. So,
all right, so what are we doing well at YKTR? Obviously, you see behind the scenes more than anyone. I probably confide in you a lot more than anyone. What are you seeing that's going great for us right now?
I think the consistency of the sports show is doing really well. I think Scope's commitment to planning and executing that is coming off in the
content.
People can really recognize with that. Like it's literally 3 days worth of planning. Like if he comes, you know what he's like. People don't, obviously. So he comes in on the Monday and he's like looking at the teams, reflecting on the weekend. I think he's even taking notes, watching the games on weekends now too.
For sure.
So
yeah, so
that's exactly what you want.
So his first like media requirement for us is Wednesday, 8:00 in the morning. Potentially might change, and we'll touch on that pretty soon. But yeah, he just has to basically prepare for the show, and it really shows, man. Especially like someone next to me, where I sort of, I know I should be better, but I'm just fucking a fuckload busy. But my takes are really short, sharp, and try and be a little bit punchy, and he's just well thought out. Yeah. And I think there's a nice little balance there as well. So we just got Mello in the background.
Yeah,
too.
he hasn't been down here for a while. He's upstairs.
All right, where can we improve?
I think across the board, everyone focusing on their own lane and doing their own thing upstairs and whatnot. I know you're quite big on if you're not here working, don't be here. I think we could implement that a little bit more, but then it'd be also good to have more people working more often. So
give us an example of what we'd like to see as someone working a bit more often.
I think there could be like more daily tasks for, let's say, Simi as the brand manager, him going out, like speaking to people on the daily, like the 5 or 6 partners that we are working with are fantastic and we love working with them at the moment, but have that pipeline building up to see what's 3 months down the way like I feel like we almost like rushed into the NRL season at the sports show and we're like, fuck, where's the sponsors for this? We've been talking about this since the start when we were in Byron Bay. This is what we want to do, and then we're here and it's like it did feel like it went like that and circumstances dictated how the year went. But I think if we start thinking almost like, I remember when I hit up Carlton Breweries for when we were doing Footy Companion, and I was like, yeah, this is what we want to do. We've got like, we'd be mad for you a beer sponsor and whatnot. And she's like, oh, I can't commit. We've already allocated our quarterly resources for a few other campaigns, so we can't do anything now. So I think if we start like trying to level up into thinking that quarterly thing, I think that could be the way forward. And then having everyone planning their shows a bit better. Obviously, we don't have that many shows anymore, so I think that helps.
Yep.
And then, just having all the shows locked in, almost in like a spreadsheet where it's like, we've got 4 episodes over the next month. Who's these sponsored by? Tick, 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 etc.
Yeah, I'm actually building those systems within Miller Notes, that program I've been using a lot lately. And it's like, like Simi's looking for more work, and obviously I'm buried in a fuckload of work at the moment, but he's really keen to sort of Got just Mello. You won't be able to see
Need
him.
a third cam.
Just got Mello sitting there. Yeah, he's really keen, but I'm probably not giving him the right infrastructure for him to grow as well. And and obviously I've given him infrastructure in the past and it hasn't worked out. So I'm just sort of happy with him where he is at right now. But obviously, if we do start to scale out.
Yeah, I think that becomes
side.
the issue. Like if we look to scale, bring anyone else in, I think the systems aren't polished enough for someone to just to slot in and feel comfortable with what we're doing, because it can be a bit willy-nilly.
Yeah, agree.
But we've said that, like, I've also, like, I was thinking, like, if we went back and watched one of these from like 6-8 months ago, to a point, like, how many times we're going to sit here and keep saying the same thing as well? Like, we've got to have a point where it's like remember when we said that, and then we did it, like, not just did it for a bit. So I think as a team, we can all work better like that.
I kind of like the process, and we're very much Barstool orientated, where if you want to start something, you've got the resources here to do it.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at anyone that they're not, like, don't get mad at Lukey, don't get mad at me because you're not cutting up your own content. Like, I've given you a laptop. You've literally got one of the best podcast facilities in Sydney, in my opinion, right now, and it's going to get even better. Go down, record your shows, cut it up, post it, and if it works, then we'll start to sort of put the machine behind it, or put the effort behind it, or put money behind it, or resources behind it. And I've had to do that as well with the PB&J show, and we've got a sponsor already, and we've probably got to get another sponsor. So I think that's a great way to do it, because all the boys know what to do. It's just getting them to do it is a completely different story.
And like finding a lane, like finding exactly what angle, committing to something. Don't ditch what got you to the dance in the first place. Don't try and rechange the formula on things. Just double down, continue to do what we do, because I think that's why people resonate with what we do, because they enjoy the larrikin side of it. So I think we need to double down on that.
All right, let's jump to the clothing side, and we'll come back to sports anyway. Do you like us looking a bit more polished?
I do, because I'm like you in the sense where I'll look at like the bigger brands and everything like that and go, fuck, that looks cool.
Agree.
But then it's like, it's almost like when you coach people to buy in an online shop, it's almost like you have to like shift the audience to like come on that like more polished journey with us. But maybe they don't want it. Like, it could be as simple as that.
Maybe it's the combination of both somewhere. That's where I see it, where maybe it's like before we drop on a Thursday, we're shifting back to a Thursday. Maybe we're like, yeah, cool, this next 4 days, we look super polished and we sort of behind the scenes. But the reason why we kind of pulled away from a lot of the content that sort of got us here is because a lot of people started replicating or copying, especially in the clothing side of what we were doing. And to be fair, I was showing shit way too early. Yeah. I'd get first sample.
That would be because we'd almost have like nothing to put out. So it's like, we can just default back to what you've always done best. And then, but that's, now we're such at a scale where it's like, you might have been previewing something back in Parramatta, but now it's so different being like as big as we are now.
Yeah, agree. And like the thing is like you, like I love to look at those big brands as well, but we're very content based, me and you, and I think we think content before close. So we look at someone like Nelk and we see their launch days and they're massive and the content that they provide. And even like right now I'm rocking ARD, which is a cool brand from New York. Probably, in my opinion, probably the most well-polished brand that I like to look at from an aesthetic standpoint. The way they style things up, but then when I get their product, besides their like heavyweight stuff that we've never had a crack at, like I grabbed this T-shirt. It's a lower quality fabric than what we use.
Same as when the Represent parcel came through.
Yeah, and like it's positioned well, and it's at a higher price point that they need to do that. So for us right now, and what we're not struggling with, we just like to test a lot of things. Is like, do we move towards that well polished look and go for that vibe where I heard Gary Vee say it, like most people look like a Vogue magazine. Yeah. And it's so true from back in the 90s where everything's on the model, it's well polished, but I didn't think that really resonates with our core audience or our root, but then potentially that might bring new people in as well. So there's that constant balance of what do we look like?
Yeah, I think you've got to find whatever the 80-20 equivalent is for it. Like still have fun, have a giggle with it, but maybe it's just like, it's not just iPhone stuff. It's like using Caleb's skills to sort of hybrid the two together. Yeah. And I think like we did that when we did like a fun example was like me doing the Batman thing as a giggle for the last life at YKTR. Like that's like
the cross between culture and us. I like it.
Yeah, like dabbling with that. It's still produced. It's like, but it's a bit of a giggle because it's Batman at the same time. And it's me doing the clothing stuff where it's not some hectic model coming in to do it. So, and then when we're all in here, we're doing the TikTok reels and stuff like that. I think the existing audience can relate to that. So it's almost like ticks that box. And then we've got the French David comes in to be the polished model. So when you click on yktr.com.au, you'll start seeing his face on there, and that's who you can sort of bring that new customer in, because nobody knows who David is. He's just a model, and it's like they're looking at the clothing. Whereas if we're modeling it, or we've got Chico wearing it, you're like, oh, that's Chico, and then you're looking at the clothes secondary. So maybe finding that balance in how we're putting the content out there, like the Normie effect. Like you put Normie up on the Instagram, does really well, and he's got the kit on. So they're recognizing Normie first, and then they're going, oh, he's got kit on.
Normie good model, man. He's actually like good looking enough, eh? Like he's got a good build. So when you look at me, like long torso, short legs, like a lot of people think, like when they meet me in real life, they're like, oh, you're actually taller than you actually look. And you probably get that a lot too.
I do. I get it heaps, man.
And then like Chico's like a weird build where he's just this little fucking ball.
He's not that much taller than me. You'd have only a couple centimeters.
Yeah, so he grows the hair on the top, eh?
Yeah.
But like Chico's very thick side on, but we all wear the same size clothes, and you look at our body shapes, we all look very different.
Yeah.
So like Normie's kind of one that like he looks like what he looks like on Instagram, he looks like in real life as well, in terms of body shape. So yeah, it's interesting, and he might be back down here soon. But
or even just like building a campaign, like rather than like doing it down here, do almost like what we used to do, have someone send the clothes up to Queensland and have him shoot up there. Like it could,
that'd be cool, eh?
Just stuff that we can do like that. Not every campaign, but it could be just the odd one where if you know that he's going to be definitely vibing with that stuff, just do a cool shoot with him.
That's cool.
The more that the founders are involved, the more this place goes bigger. So.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to pull away from content, but I'm just gonna like, oh, I need to be focusing on fucking numbers and all that sort of shit, and I'll be working weekends and stuff like that. But I still need to front the camera, man.
Yeah, like that was the first thing I sort of said, but I was like, when you did say I want to pull back, I'm like, well, but people want to see you on camera because you're the one that tells the story. You are the story. You're the reason we're all here. As entertaining as like Simi and Scope are and whatnot upstairs, like people do tune in because like you started vlogging way back when. So I think it's important that you still do all the other stuff, but then like be involved in some capacity.
Maybe we start filming other
not
stuff.
Not go-coding.
Go-karting. Yeah, Caleb's hooked on go-karting at the moment. He thinks it's going to be the life-changing thing. I'm feeling a little bit for Caleb at the moment because he puts so much effort into life at YKTR, and kind of the views aren't there. And I remember D-Rock got upset at Gary Vee back in the day when Daily V used to be the show, and he's like, oh, the numbers aren't there, and they're like, should we move to Weekly V? And then so like we've been around long enough that we understand platforms change. We follow enough content creators to understand that most of them have moved from daily vlogging into podcasting, as this is probably the medium that's probably got the most growth right now. Where do you see us with the vlog and podcasts? Are we going to be more podcasty, in which we kind of already are, or do we keep the vlog? Do we get rid of it?
I think the vlog's important to document everything that we do. I think there could be value in looking at like a big monthly one as opposed to the weekly one that we're doing now. Just to, I don't know. I think Caleb could really do his work if we're putting together like the story of everything and making it like a big episode of a big spectacle monthly, whether that lines up with the drop that we do. But I'm not off weekly at all. I think there's enough things that we do around the office, whether it's...
Bro, we do so much in a week.
Yeah, exactly. So people... And it's cool having the fly on the wall aspect of things. So for the people that like... we're their entertainment. So
I've sort of thought about like the next guy that we bring on is probably going to have to be a producer to help you out to cut all the content and micro and shit like that. But like if we get a videographer that could probably follow me around as well. I'm like very much old school Gary Vee. Like I'm sitting in meetings. Like I just had a website meeting. I've been on 2-3 podcasts today. We've worked on designs. I've gone upstairs, and this is just like Thursday, and we're roughly about 1:30.
Yeah.
Me and you got to go back upstairs and fucking do some designs and stuff like that. I used to find that interesting as well, like really seeing behind the scenes of a brand. So maybe that's an evolution that we can sort of move towards, and obviously need fucking capital to hire more staff and shit like that. So that's another conversation, but I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I think someone that I can like relate to more in terms of like the content and the micro aspect of it, because I think Caleb's amazing at what he does, but we don't really like, he's not a content kid like I am in that sense. Like loves YouTube, loves the creators and whatnot, but like I enjoy watching more of like what Alex Media does with shorts versus like what like kids backflipping off stuff and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's just two different lanes that we sort of operate in. So
yeah, agree. Like I used to love all that sort of B-roll, slow motion, JL Verez style, really cool music. But yeah, probably because we're a little bit older, that sort of shows the age gap difference between.
Oh yeah, exactly right. I'm the same thing. Like one of my favorite vlogs to watch is like Yoon Olsen's vlogs, where he's like the Swedish skier. He just bought a mad new Porsche actually. I haven't watched him for years, and I started watching him like 2 nights ago. But he's like quite polished vlogs, everything like that. So there's definitely a lane for it. But I get like, it's more of like the marketing side of it. It's like if you've got a good bit of micro, that's your billboard for the show that you're doing. So sometimes I feel like I wish I could invest more time in it, but then we do so much other stuff. Like that one, like when I sent through and you were like, yeah, that's a new standard. I'm like, I'd love this to be the new standard. If that was the only thing that I did in a day, it could be. But then there's so many other things that we're just missing out on.
Yeah.
I'm just spending remember when we we're talking about, shout out to Stacey, I know you normally tune in. We were messaging each other and he spent like 14 hours on that Rico clip.
Yeah, that just wasn't worth it, eh?
Yeah, like it was
like it looks sick.
It looks amazing, but then it's just not practical. So you got to find that medium balance. Yeah.
And everything, like we're going to we've talked about it, we fucking haven't executed, and like moving towards TikTok. It's hard to get out of your current flow because we're growing up on YouTube and Instagram and we put our effort into that. And I wouldn't say they're dying platforms, but they're matured platforms where the engagement is fucking nowhere near.
Yeah.
And the damaging thing for the ego is like, because we can edit and create and put some really cool stuff together, TikTok doesn't really give a fuck about that, and it's kind of hard to let go.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's just an ego thing, isn't it? For both of us.
Yeah, it's different. But I'm better at probably editing like the more polished stuff than than you would be in terms of just setting up your phone and editing off your phone. I've never really been good at that. It's not something I've ever really done. So it feels weird for me to try and like think in that TikTok mindset where I'm like, all right, set up my phone, cut, edit, all that stuff within the TikTok platform. So
it does feel clunky when you're so used to using like a PC or Final Cut or something. It feels like slow as fuck. It could be way quicker. But in my mind, when I edit something on a computer, then transfer and upload it onto TikTok, I don't feel like the engagement is as good.
Yeah, it's like they can tell.
Do you reckon they can?
Yeah, for sure. You'd be able to somewhere, they would be able to figure it out. Like they can do anything TikTok. But I think, like when you're doing those day in the life vlogs on TikTok, like they're like people love that shit. That's like the new normal. That
should be, and that's like I was gonna start vlogging again this year, and I'm like, why am I fucking vlogging towards a platform that's slow as fuck in terms of YouTube?
So you get way more engagement doing one of those day in the life TikTok things where it's like I woke up at 4:30, did the run club, whatever, and then you would put on YouTube is like a whole episode of Life of Ice.
Hey, here's an idea. Why don't we should do that for YKTR, but follow each person a day? So like, all right, Monday's your day.
Yeah.
And then like the way I was explaining it to the boys in TikTok, I'm like, all right, I'm putting together like 30-second clips. I just have to get 10 clips that are 3 seconds throughout the day and kind of just do a voiceover. So that way we can sort of spread the workload.
Yeah, because I think even like the way that we're trying to do TikTok at the moment, even if we're micro clipping the vlogs, it's like what you said before, it's not native to the platform, so it doesn't necessarily fit. So sometimes a bit of like podcast micro content will fly on TikTok because I think it's just about like how entertained you're drawing that attention for. So if people are like, I remember that Munster clip blew up where we talked about Queensland camp after the grand final. That blew up on our YKTR Sports TikTok that I still can't find the password for.
How many followers we have on that?
I think I had like 5 or 6.
Oh, that's enough, somebody build off.
I was building it well, and then I can't remember the login, and now it's blocked me out of it, so it's annoying. I'm still trying to figure out what email address we use for it.
Yeah, we've got a fuckload of email addresses around there.
Yeah, it's crazy. So my point being, it's like it's an interesting. It captivate people wanted to hear that story, so they spent more time on the post. Then it filters through the algorithm better because you're staying on the platform. So
I reckon if we sat down for half a day and we just go, fuck, this is our new TikTok plan. But it's like I think we are a little bit understaffed. Like it's great for content from the front end, but back end it's fucking a lot of work for obviously me and you at the moment as well. And then Jackson's sort of going home for the month for good reason. Obviously he feels a little bit bad for leaving, but like there's always going to be podcasts. You're going to get one set of parents, don't you?
100%.
So that balance of life is really important. So we're probably looking at bringing on other people, but the thing is you have to fit into what we do.
Yeah.
It's really important. Dynamics important. All skill sets can be taught.
Yeah, 100%. Like I've learned,
You've learned on the go.
yeah, literally the whole time. So,
Remember, we thought you were elite when you first
Yeah.
got it, and then
so
we-
did I. I still think like I one thing like I don't spend enough time on is doing the stuff that I got here with.
Yeah,
Like I don't feel like I don't sit down and like I made that little quote card template yesterday. I haven't done one of them in ages just because we just haven't been like focused on it. I've been focusing on the video aspect of things.
yeah.
So
But, I think, like, I heard Basketball Sports one time, and I asked this guy, "What's your job?" And he goes, "I do all the micro content." And I was sitting there going, "Yeah, that's actually fucking that's a
the
full
micro
time
guy would
job."
be a job. So yeah, I think it's something that we can look at, especially with Jackson being away. Maybe there's an offline chat to try and figure out the best way to do it. But because it's something that can be done remotely potentially. I think. So.
All right, so YKTR Sports, I feel like it's starting to go all right. We've got some, obviously, I'm back on camera a lot more with Scope. Scope's probably going to be one of the main guys that we've got moving forward, potentially starting a review show with him on the Monday morning. I think he'd be really good at it. I think it fills up his week as well. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was I pitched it to him off the back of when they did 10 out of the can on Monday. And I was like, you're speaking about footy topics. He's always got a good take on things, like whether it be like a serious analytical side of it, or if it's the having a giggle about Philip Sammy guthoing on Gutho. So I think like that side of it could be really cool. I don't think it needs to be as in depth as what you guys do on the sports show, but just come in, recap the topics, have it quite simple, and even if it doesn't necessarily just need to be a podcast per se. It could be just like give us 5 clips for YouTube, or give us 5 clips for TikTok or something like that. Just front the camera, talk about what you thought was mad on the weekend, and just see where it goes. Because I think we've got all these resources. We just need to use them better.
Yeah. Do you reckon we're edgy enough for at YKTR Sports?
Edgy.
Do you reckon we're falling kind of into... Like, I look at someone like the first guy to sort of blow up in this space was Dennon Kemp, doing great numbers. But in my mind, he's kind of crossing over to mainstream. He's got the big shows of pretty much the biggest guys you can get. The Johns brothers, Cameron Smith. And he's on radio. And he's got his own shows as well. He's got the Hello Sports. He does it very well. And fucking congratulations to him because he's fucking killed it and nailed it. Like, how do we not fall... And I'm not saying there's nothing against that road.
Yeah.
How do we not go down that road?
I think we just need to do back to what we always wanted to do. Like, we wanted to do that different side where we're telling stories. Like can I use the example of when Simi was with Thing the other day, Jai Arrow?
Yeah.
And I was like, he was trying to make it like a real serious chat, and the audio marked up for it, so we couldn't post it, and I felt terrible for that in the first place. But in terms of the context of the interview, it was like trying to be like an interview that you would sit with like a mainstream outlet.
Yep.
And I just felt like just sitting there producing, and I was like, this isn't us. Like, we don't, like, we want to, he's sitting there wearing a pair of Jordans. Like, I want you to talk about that. Like,
yeah.
Talk about what's going on outside, like the defaults that we always go to, where do you eat, all that sort of stuff. Because I think that's more interesting from like to show a different side of someone. I think that's where we need to go down and double down on more. Like, we've got the review show now. It ticks that box of the serious footy stuff.
Agree.
And we're nailing that. So let's put that other energy. Scope had a really good idea. He's got a golf game lined up with KP and DCE.
Yeah, at the Australian too. You can't fucking get on there.
Yeah, and he's like, why don't we lav mic everyone up? And it's Gary Neville. He played for Manchester United. He's with Sky Sports over there in the UK. He goes out and he does that, and it's almost just like the hot sauce model, where it's like you're talking to someone, but you've got another task.
Yeah,
that's the priority, and then the chat is the secondary. And
then that's the kind of the point of difference. And then what I said to Scope this morning, I was like, this show kind of use the word edgy again. The show has to be kind of edgy, but the way it can be is just through the banter, through the lav mics.
Yeah.
And you look at golf, it's such a traditional game. And the way we'd film it with drones, and would have really cool, like, classical country club style music rolling in. And it goes in, and there's that point of difference where the chat's like fucking blue collar.
Yeah.
Because golfers love footy players love golfers. So, like, and this is the way that me and Lukey think, and these are the types of conversations we have off air. We're at the point now, it's like, if we're starting a show, like, what's our point of difference?
Yeah.
Like, the betting show, the green screen, we literally copied that off sports advisors from Barstool Sports. And I hadn't seen anyone in Australia do it. It's short, it's sharp, it's punchy. There's a bit of competition in it. So that's kind of like our point of difference. We didn't want to be diving deep into analysis. And there's probably that side of it that we could sort of grow into. But we just want to see if it had legs first. And I think that golf one combined with the knockabout shit chat is a really good one.
Just any sort of context where we can go, we can meet artists, we can meet sportsmen or whatever we're doing, just showing a different side of things, I think is what we should dive into in terms of trying to do the content, because that's like the different stuff that's going to get more eyeballs, that then byproduct is more eyeballs on the clothes, which is the main thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing that funds it. So like when Scope pitched that to me like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, the thing with Scope, he'll just say things and then like there's kind of no follow up.
Yeah, he's almost like throws it out there and it's like, you guys figure it out because I don't know any of the camera work stuff.
Yeah. So, but then like he comes today and he showed me like resources and clips and shit he's seen on YouTube.
Yeah.
And sort of stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah. And then just all business mind just goes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Sponsor. All right, merch plan.
Yeah.
Scope's fucking golf club or Scope's. Like, it'd be pretty easy to sort of monetize off that. And we're at that point now where, like, the saying, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
I think it's also a time thing as well. It's like time is money. So it's like, if we're gonna allocate time to it, what's the outcome? So I think that's also part of it.
Yeah. I think we could gravitate towards it being a little bit more edgy and cultural, but it's just kind of draining. Yeah, you don't want to be like Dave Portnoy when you're on the defense against everything. And like we could easily start a show and pretty much go attack Buzz Rothfield and Paul Ken and go fuck that was, but we just don't want to be in that lane as well.
Yeah, nah.
And it kind of shines.
It feels a bit yuck. We
buy into what they're trying to do, which is trying to get a reaction.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So it's like, you don't need to do that.
We've got obviously a couple other shows that we'll probably launch this year with Caleb, and in terms of following players around and like so that Jack Harlow one we talked about the other day. Yeah. So I think you'll start to see how we envision YKTR Sports probably 2 years ago to what it actually wants to look like, and then it will start to separate us from guys like Bloke in the Bar and Guru and sort of Roasty, where they're in the game of like reporting. So they report scorelines, they love stats, they got super coach shows and sort of shit like that as well. Memes, funny, nailed it. Him and Roasty both have nailed it. Yeah. We appreciate all the work that they've done, but we don't want to be in that lane as well. Yeah. Because in theory, like Roasty set us up and we could hire him and he could build out that, but we just don't want to be in that lane. Yeah.
No, I'd prefer I've always we should have had Corbin sitting on the chair in front of the white screen and just doing almost like fun questions just that you can clip for IG and stuff like that, just for us to be different. So once we've sort of planned and we've got Jacko back on deck in a couple of weeks, I think we can I think it's more like a thing like that just Jacko and I now, we've got time, I'm settled in, where he's settled in, his life's sort of back to normal to a degree. We can sit down and be like, all right, this is what we're going to do, and we don't have to get you involved, we don't have to just get anyone involved. It's something it's a project that Jacko and I can work on. And I can do the filming, he can do that. We don't necessarily need Caleb unless we really need to. So we can. I need to start being better at that, and I've got more time now. So I've got 2.5, 3 hours in my day.
You're not traveling out west. Yeah. I'm really interested to see where we sort of move with the YKTR Sports and the sort of content studio. We've got She Knows coming out, and obviously my business mind goes, all right, what's the media platform we can build on for that? Want to build something that's pro-woman, female talent that can build their own shows, build their own house music, and that's always sort of been the goal, and we've talked about that as well. But I think right now it feels like a fuckload is on my head and your head. Yeah. But this is that little grind phase that sort of catapults us into that next period of
just doubling down on what we've got and we don't need to add anything to the mix at the moment. We just need to focus on what's going on now and then we can move on and expand and do that.
Where do you see us this time next year? Sports.
Hopefully we've got those type of shows. Not shows necessarily, but we've got those unique pieces of content that it's unique to us. That's what I would like to do. So that's my goal.
How many of them?
Maybe in terms of names or programs, maybe 3, I think sounds like a reasonable number to have 3 types of bits of content that is separate to footy and whatnot. So
imagine if we get to the point where, and obviously be very separate, but this studio gets used 3 times a day. for different stuff. And obviously we've got staff down here that are
Yeah.
chopping and editing, and fuck, that'd be interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Especially the business model of it.
Yeah, just to churn it out. So I think, but yeah, the stuff that we're doing that I've got in my head isn't that production intense. It's pretty basic, and I think Jack,
We just need more hands on deck.
yeah, and Jack is willing to learn too, so we can both sit down and do the content together in that sense. So
You're an internet kid. What sort of programs you paying attention to at the moment that relate to us? Colin and Samir is a big one for us at the moment.
yeah, I think that's pretty much all I'm digesting at the moment. A lot of Colin and Samir, the way they break down the internet stuff, I really enjoy.
That's right up our alley, eh? We love that shit.
Definitely. And then I'm a massive Schultz guy, so I pretty much watch his podcast on YouTube every week and listen to the Charlemagne one with Brilliant Idiots.
Yep.
So I think he's killing it. Obviously, he was on Colin and Samir recently too. Told you to listen to that. I don't know, in terms of other stuff.
Yeah, if you want to listen to a really cool podcast, go Colin and Samir with Schultz. Really cool. And obviously, if you know him, who he is as a comedian, genius, fucking funny. But the thought process behind it is really interesting as well, especially if you're into the sort of content game and sort of where it's heading.
What else have I been really watching lately?
We're kind of big on Erica Nardini. She's the token CEO. She's the CEO of Barstool Sports. Really interesting lady. These shows are kind of built off what she does as well and what they do at Barstool Sports and Dave Portnoy's show. She sort of talks about behind the scenes and everything. Like, there's a lot of times I think problems are unique to us.
Yeah.
And literally the week that shit's happening to us, she does a podcast on it and the timing of it's kind of really perfect.
What else have I been watching? I'm just going through my YouTube history.
Yeah, she'd be like, we just do dumb stuff around here.
Yeah.
I
I watched that. There was a Bleacher Report did a cool, Alex Caruso breaks down how to guard the NBA's best offense.
Yep.
That was cool.
Oh, here's like an example. Like, we lost a sponsor because, I won't say his name, but we didn't understand the product and we kind of bagged their first primary product, which is, I don't know, it was kind of just dumb stuff like that. So we lose money coming into the system. Another one would be like Chico. I'm like, don't post anything about the new collection coming through. I want it to run through YKTR. So then he puts up a photo of him in the new kit a day early, does a swipe up, but it goes to his help yourself.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that, it just doesn't make sense. Or like we'll do a photo shoot, we're using our models and then they throw their stuff on when we literally trying to keep sports and YKTR separate. Like that's the
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We just do weird stuff like that. Caleb will give away our assets before, like I haven't even posted them, and then
Yeah.
he used to take photos and then put them up on his own page, or he'd do videos and put them up in his own vlog, and we hadn't dropped them in
That's just
YKTR.
about putting the foot down and setting better expectation on everyone. I think
I
everyone's
just feel like
learned the lesson now.
that's just like common.
I know.
I thought that was common sense.
I do too, but not everyone thinks like that.
Like, why would you do a swipe up with clothes that you're wearing but you're not selling? Like,
Yeah. I think like that, but it's not my position to call out.
yeah. Had a bit of a run-in with Simi last night.
Yeah, that was a giggle.
Yeah. You want to talk about it, or did they talk about it on the podcast?
No. Oh, he sort of touched on some of the messages from when we were upstairs before, but I don't know. Sometimes I just I feel like I'm not respected sometimes.
Yeah.
So I saw it brewing. I could see it from a mile away. So I just thought I'd keep him accountable to it. And
Yeah.
I was just like, no, you don't have to. Don't fucking walk over me, man. Like, I know he had his reasoning for it, but I was just like, there was a way better way that you could have communicated that to me before. So don't try and walk over me, because I might sit there and just be quiet in the corner and just get my work done. But mate, don't.
I'm glad you stood up for yourself.
Yeah, people don't see that. Like, you guys don't see that side of me because I'm just like the little guy in the office or whatever. But like, I've got my old man's temper, and I can snap in 2 seconds.
You've had a few boxing fights too, eh, Lukey?
I've had one, so but
You got the dub?
I got the dub.
Yeah,
Got the
so-
dub. I need to get back in there. So,
He's undefeated, and
but yeah. So my point with that was sometimes he just pushes the buttons too far and just gets away with it. And I think I just needed to chirp up a little bit to get him in. And by his reaction, it got what I wanted.
yeah.
Except lucky he didn't punch me in the head when he walked in the office.
I'm glad you guys sorted it out on your own. I've told the boys, I don't want to be dealing with that shit.
Yeah, I'm big enough to do that. And if he came in and carried on, and if he kept carrying on, I would have been like, all right, let's. But we're big enough and
What, you
open
going to
enough
have a
for not to
fight?
happen.
Would you ever?
I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'd probably get smashed.
Be funny if you knocked him out.
I know you're watching Simi, man.
Yeah. Do you like our culture?
Yeah, I think I'm good enough to insert myself and
Pick your
remove
times.
myself
Yeah.
in it. So I don't always jive in, but I can pick and choose my moments.
It's fun though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun.
A
But
lo-
then
a lot
when
of-
it can feel like shit sometimes because we just do so much and everything's crazy and you've got your problems, I've got my problems, everyone's got their problems and it sort of like accumulates sometimes.
Yeah.
But when it is good, it is good. But when it's sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
But
I think one thing we sort of talked about in staff meetings, and unless you're in the circle, you wouldn't have heard this, but we kind of try and lean in towards conflict right now. What used to happen is like no one used to say shit. And when a problem arose, and like say Lukey called that out last night, like if he didn't call that out, sometimes it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and then we all just go fucking snap, and it's kind of all on. And there's we got some big personalities in there. Everyone's quite confident in who they are, and everyone's opinionated as well. So I think sort of like knocking it on the head nice and early and getting a resolution is a really important part moving forward. And it's going to be hard. Like because I don't want to be core. I know we've got core values and stuff like that. I don't want us to be too corporate-y, you know what I mean? I know there's reason behind that and it works and all that sort of stuff, but I don't want us to kind of be like that.
yeah, that's like the small nature of it. And I've obviously come from the other world where it's like completely different. But
So when you come from the other worlds, did they have to, what was the culture like? Was it you hang out for a couple of people over here, or did everyone get along?
well, yes, to a degree, but there's always like a chain of command, or there was always like, if you had an issue with something, there was like multiple people within a leadership role that would be able to address it. It's not just one person. So it's not like, let's say, I guess that would be Natasha if she was here, like an alternate, I've got a problem with this, but I don't know. And you'd almost like bounce it off the other person before coming, where it's like we just have to just go straight to the person pretty much.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's like the soundboarding of somebody else, and they might be able to give you, because it might be an issue that I wouldn't talk to Simi about something that's got nothing really to do with him and disclose something that it's not his business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So I think that just happens. That's just the life of a small business, I think.
Yeah.
I always default back to that time when, another time when Simi and I had the run in, and I ended up just going and talking to Jade about it. I'm like, that was so good for me. Just to have like a third party just to like vent to and be like, what do you think I should do here?
Someone removed from the situation but still kind of gets it.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think Natasha will play that role.
Yeah.
I think we've got too many guys
Yeah.
at the moment, and it's just fucking testosterone and egoville. I think when Natasha gets back as well, she'll build that little wall between me and you boys as well. So it's hard because like my hardest struggle is like, fuck, because I get along with all the boys so well, and like I want to be the guy talking shit, and I can talk shit if I need to. And having fun, but then sometimes I forget that like I'm the boss as well. So it's that weird mix. So I'm gonna have to make a decision of where I sort of head down. That'll been the Dave Portnoy, like when he hired Erica. Like they only had 16 people at the time.
Yeah.
When they hired her, and he goes, I just don't want to be the guy making these decisions.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something like, I don't have to always run this company for it to be good. It probably could be way better if I didn't run it and I just focus on what I was good at.
Yeah. It could be, you never know where the future lies.
I sometimes think, man, like I wouldn't do it at the moment, but like if I could just be easy. Like right now, when I'm talking to Jade and seeing like what she's doing and type of money, and she's just cruising on her own. No, I was just like, fuck, it looks pretty good, man.
Yeah. She did the hard yards back in the day too. She would have felt like that, like shit when she was building Equolution. So it's all part of the journey.
100%. Anything else you got in your mind?
Nah, my Subway's getting cold.
Is it? All right, Mutters. Thanks for jumping on.
Peace.